throughout this whole 10 years free in the various emergency rooms, my health changed from 5'9" and 150 pounds. 10 years later, I'm 5'9" and 267 pounds, and I'm on the night shift. That's all I work. I went home in the day. I would have 2 martinis to get myself to sleep. I smoked cigarettes at night. I mean, I was doing everything bad, every habit that you can pick up. And I kept telling myself it's okay because I'm doing all these amazing things. And finally, I'm 10 years into this, I see my doctor. He's putting me on my 7th pill, and he basically says, in 5 years, you're going to have a heart attack unless you do something different.
All right, it is Q1 of 2024. That means new goals, more growth, and upgrading your day-to-day workflow. That's why I want to talk to you today about the HubSpot Sales Hub. This thing is basically an all-in-one platform to help you get out of that muck of scheduling everything manually, digging through data, tracking down leads, probably not following up with things. Sales Hub will flip everything on its head. This thing's an easy-to-use suite of powerful tools. It's going to help you convert contacts into customers quicker, accelerate sales with smart sequences, manage deals with simple and powerful tools, and help you forecast a lot smarter. It actually uses this new AI-powered app called ChatSpot. Combines ChatGPT with HubSpot's smart CRM. Basically, you can ask this thing to create more revenue for you and deliver it as well. So you can ask it to track down contacts, competitors, summarize sales, and actually draft emails for you. So now's the time to close more deals and get on track. Make Q1 your best yet. Explore the new HubSpot Sales Hub and AI tools like ChatSpot at HubSpot.com/sales. All right, we're rolling. We are finally together, Mr. I'm going to call you Dr. Paul Savage, man. It is awesome to have you here. And I know we've chatted once before. It felt like a podcast, you and I. It was a good, I think, hour and a half chat, and we went deep immediately. So I'm like, perfect prime time for the podcast. We're ready. And I got to give a shout out to Lisa Beyer too for making it happen. She's a rock star.
I agree. Yeah. It's always been fun to talk to you. You've been, it's always interesting to talk to people who can spread the news in different ways. And I think that's the essential part of business is communication.
That's right. Yeah. It's, and I love to curate. I take it seriously, curating the folks that come onto this podcast, knowing that that's going to impact lives and the lives of their families and beyond. So, and I know that's literally why you just came out of retirement not that long ago.
I did. Yeah.
A little tie in there for you.
I was in retirement for a full 3 weeks, and then
Is that all it was?
Then shit happened. Yeah.
Good shit. Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of want to just dive right into it because you're here for a purpose, and I think it's so awesome. You've been doing work in longevity and as a doctor, but in a whole bunch of different facets. And you've had these big ups and big downs. And I mean, you'd be best to tell me all about them. But for one, what did you come out of retirement for? I guess maybe like, let's give people just right off the bat, like kind of a hook of the thing you do, and then let's walk them back.
So I've been a doctor in longevity medicine for about 30 years now. And before that, I was one of the top emergency trauma docs in the country at the largest trauma center in the country. So I've done a lot of different aspects of longevity, and it has a lot of fun little parts to it. But one of the parts in longevity that has always been a little bit behind technology-wise is how to detoxify people, especially in the face of all the toxins that are in our environment now, the heavy metals, the environmentals, the pesticides, the plastics, these forever chemicals. It's impossible to get those out. And so by the time I retired and did well by August of 2022, 3 weeks later, a landmark study was published, and I actually got a little preview of it from somebody who was peer reviewing it. And he's like, here's that study on toxicology or on longevity. It has about the biomarkers. And in the project, what they did was use something called plasma exchange, which we'll get into, but it's been around for 50 years. And after they did plasma exchange on 6 older clients, what they noticed is all the biomarkers of aging reversed. Inflammation, oxidation, cancer, Alzheimer's, and the immune system increased substantially. And the author of the paper said, we're not clear as to what caused this with the plasma exchange. I was immediately clear what it did. It cleared the toxins that have been so hard to clear for the last 25 years. And at that point, I was like, oh man, I got to go back. I got to go back because this needs to be brought into longevity medicine as well as bringing it into traditional medicine, because in America we are facing a significant problem in toxicology.
So tell me more about toxic. Why toxins? What do I need to know about them? Can you
Sure.
define them and how that plays a part of my life, and obviously as an entrepreneur, how that shows up too?
Well, let's be real clear. Talk about first the United States. The United States is in the top 10 of the GDP of the world, right?
Right.
But we're in the lower part for healthcare, for the best healthcare systems. Of all the other 10 countries, we're way down the list on healthcare. And compared to the other 10 countries, which are pretty good with environmental cleanliness, we are terrible. We're in the bottom 25 of environments that are toxic. What we've seen in the United States over the last 20 years is increasingly exponential, not only the number of toxins, but the amount. And I'm not talking just pesticides and herbicides. I'm talking about plastics and petroleum byproducts and heavy metals and all these things that, as evolutionarily, we were never built to be able to get out of our system. So what I saw when I first started in longevity medicine 30 years ago is I did toxicology screening on people. And it was uncommon for anybody to have any significant amount of toxins, let alone an amount. And then somewhere around 2012, 2015, it started to change that. People started coming in with 1 or 2 toxins, and they seemed to be increasing. Then 2018, it was 4, 6, and 2020, it was 6 and 8. And now it's like 12 to 20 per person who's asymptomatic. And of those 20s, half of them are in the significantly toxic range.
And asymptomatic. So we have no clue.
They may or may not be asymptomatic. I mean, sometimes they're coming in because I'm gaining weight. I have a lot of data. It's been published that shows that's toxin related. I have people coming in because they have brain fog. Again, that is related to the toxins. People wonder, why we're losing the battle on cancer, which we are. We haven't made much progress because all the progress we've made in therapies, we've lost in the fact that younger people are getting cancer and the incident per age is going up. And I relate that to toxins as well. So take the top 5 things that kill you in the United States: heart disease, cancer, COVID, influenza, Alzheimer's. All of those are related to toxicology and what it does to your immune system, what it does to your cardiovascular system. And I have a very strong position that much of what we're seeing in the way of chronic disease and obesity has to do with the toxicology that's in our system.
And that's causing things like inflammation, right? And in our bodies to shut down in whatever
Everything
way.
bad that can happen there's nothing good about toxins. By the definition of the word, there's nothing good about them. And when you start looking at the research of what these do on humans and animal studies, it's frightening. And now to see the amount and levels. Now, I'm in Chicago, so I admit my clientele is a little bit more biased, but all my colleagues around the country are starting to see it too. Louisiana, California, New York, even in the Midlands, where it hasn't really been until the last couple of years, it's going exponentially up as well. So we're on the verge of looking at a very significant health epidemic in the United States, and it has to do with toxicology.
So are there some basic things we should know about? I mean, you mentioned food, so pesticides, obviously.
Yeah.
There's a lot of food laden with pesticides, especially in America, because I've done my independent research. But how about some other environmentals?
15 years ago, 20 years ago, I could tell people just wash your vegetables and don't get farm-raised catfish, get wild caught, get organic vegetables. I can't say that anymore because the pesticides, herbicides, they go into organic fields all the time. It's in our water supply, it's in our air supply, it's in our food supply, it's in your clothing. When you get dry cleaned and washed, these chemicals are not natural to us, and we can start detecting them. It's in the plastics that we use, BPA, all the things associated with that. So I wish I could say I can give a lot of people good advice about how to keep it from coming in. The best advice I have at this point is do your best on eating naturally. If you can get it homegrown from someone near you, that's the best. Get yourself a good water filtration system. One of my favorite companies is Rainsoft. I have no connection with them, but they have a very good home unit for $4,000 or $5,000 that costs only $150 a year to replace the filters. And it's reverse osmosis, triple filtered, and nothing comes through that thing. I think those are the things that people do the best. The other thing that is huge is don't eat processed food, period. Anything that comes in a bag, a box, or a bottle is going to be dangerous. The number one export in the United States is currently obesity.
Yeah.
We export more obesity than any other country in the world. And now with Ozempic, we have the cure. So, but the problem is is what what's in those products. It's interesting because how many times have you heard, I went to Italy and I ate all this food and I ate all this bread and I came back and I'm 5 pounds lighter. Absolutely. That has everything to do with the fact that they don't have a lot of toxicities in European Union. European Union doesn't allow the chemicals in their country. Neither does South America. And for that way, they're protecting their citizens. We are not.
Well, and you mentioned something as well, because I have that exact story in France with my wife who had a lot of reactions here and for like not celiacs, but just inflammation, especially with grains. And then over there it was just scarfing down all the baguettes and stuff. And it's because, I think it's like 4 ingredients that they allow in their bread
13,
over there.
13 ingredients they allow in the European Union in food. In the United States, if it's on the list, you can't put it in the food. But that list is over 17,000 items already. And if it's not on that list, you can put it in the food until they say you can't put it in the food.
So it's reversed.
It's reversed. That's the problem is in Europe, they just said, these are the things you can put in your food, period. It makes it very clear and very easy. That's not what we do in the United States.
Okay. That's good to know and frightening all at the same time.
The other thing is, in addition to all the pesticides and herbicides, is that we do not rotate our crops, we don't burn our fields, and we just keep putting ammonia on the same dry soil to get the same nutrients. And that's why the nutrients in our food have fallen by some studies 20 up to 40% in nutrient value in the last 20 years. Where in Europe, they don't have that problem either because they do rotations and burning and things like that. I grew up in the farm community. I grew up in the middle of Michigan, in the middle of a farm community.
Yeah.
I know what it means. We didn't have a farm. My father was an electrician, but everybody around us, it was all about farms and animals, and it was like rotating crops and burning the fields, and you never planted 2 years in a row. There's certain crops that deplete the soil, and you always went to rotation and crops that replete the soil. We don't do that in the United States anymore. We just spray ammonia on everything.
Well, it's so commercialized, capitalism and pushing all you mentioned organic foods aren't even necessarily safe. And you see that in all the big box stores now, and every Costco, every Target, all these things, which is great that there's a push for organics, but still it's not really good enough.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you. Well, okay. There's a lot I want to go down, and I know you have some really good advice for specifically entrepreneurs. Obviously, we're all humans, so this all matters, but I love when we were chatting about it, the premise of it's essentially keep yourself in the game longer. I feel like this is a theme in this podcast. I talked about it with Lisa with marketing, but specifically for your health, it's your longevity. So tell me about your story about how when you started off as an ER doc and you're making big moves there, saving a lot of other people's lives, I'm sure. But tell me about you.
Well, I really quick on the background, and I'm very grateful for my background, but I came from a dysfunctional alcoholic family, and I was gay, and in the 70s, that wasn't cool. So by the time I'm in my early teens, it's I have to leave. So I had to leave the house, went to the biggest next city, which is Lansing, got a job, finally got into college, worked my way through college, worked my way through medical school. But the whole time that I'm doing this, please understand, you have a 16-year-old kid who never matured, and I'm just motivated by anger and fear. I'm afraid I'm not going to make it. I'm angry on what happened, and it just motivated me throughout my life, and it pushed me to do things. I didn't necessarily do it for the best of reasons. I had all these other emotions, and I didn't understand about emotional intelligence until much later in life. Yep. But that's what pushed me through so that I ended up being one of the top ER docs in the largest trauma center in the world, which was in Detroit. So I was part of the DMC complex. And I was there for a number of years, and we would have about 500,000 patients present every year. And, we had gunshots every day, 10 to 15, because at that time, Detroit was the murder capital of the world. And throughout this whole 10 years free in the various emergency rooms, my health changed from 5'9" and 150 pounds. 10 years later, I'm 5'9" and 267 pounds. And I'm on the night shift. That's all I worked. I went home in the day. I would have 2 martinis to get myself to sleep. I smoked cigarettes at night. I was doing everything bad, every habit that you can pick up. And I kept telling myself it's okay because I'm doing all these amazing things. And finally, I'm 10 years into this. I see my doctor. He's putting me on my 7th pill, and he basically says, in 5 years, you're going to have a heart attack unless you do something different.
Wow.
And that shook me up because my family is overweight and alcoholic and smokes, but heart disease isn't in my family. But I had it significantly.
Wow.
What my family falls from is cancer. So, but not heart disease. And I'm like, okay. So I left his office and suddenly realized I didn't know how to do any of that. That was never my thing. And as a doctor, they don't teach you anything about it.
Really?
So,
Wow.
nothing. I mean, you don't. They say you get an hour of nutrition. We never did. We never got
Obviously,
an hour.
you were doing.
We never got an hour of physical activity. We would always hear, tell them to eat right, tell them to exercise. And I can't tell you how many times I would tell people in the emergency room, don't worry, it's just stress. Go eat better, go exercise more, get more sleep. Not realizing that is like the most insane thing to tell people who come to you saying, I'm having trouble losing weight. And so when I was suddenly put in that position, an alcoholic, smoker, 40-year-old, overweight, heart disease, I got to find a way out.
Yeah.
Now,
in
that way, I started looking at a bunch of things, hired a nutritionist, hired a trainer. 6 months later, I'm 13 pounds fatter.
Wow.
And I'm like,
working hard. Yeah.
I'm working hard. I'm like, what's going on? I'm not losing weight. I'm eating very little. And that's when this bodybuilder walked by and goes, you need testosterone. I was like, oh no, that stuff's dangerous. Gives you prostate cancer, gives you heart disease. Wait a minute. He might have something there. I don't have a libido. Can't put on muscle. I can't burn fat. I'm tired. I checked my testosterone level. Never did anybody's testosterone level up to that point ever. I didn't know what even normal was for a guy. Mine came back 92, which is...
Where does that land? Yeah.
like a 90-year-old.
Okay.
Like a 90-year-old. I mean, it's like normal should be about 800. I'm at 90.
Wow.
And so I went to my doctor, said, I need testosterone. Look at this. He goes, yeah, we don't do that. That's illegal to give guys testosterone. At the time it was. Testosterone had been put in the Anti-Steroid Act because of all the bodybuilders who were abusing it, which forbid doctors from giving testosterone to guys who didn't have either primary hypopituitarism or they had orchectomies, had their testes taken off. If you weren't one of those two groups, you didn't get it.
Wow. Okay.
And there was an under movement in the medical community at that point, really early on, was the anti-aging industry starting to come alive. And I hooked up with a couple of the doctors. We said, screw it, let's get some testosterone. And 9 months later, I'm down 70 pounds of fat. I'm up 30 pounds of muscle. The lights came back on. And I'm like, this can't be bad for you. Because that was bad for me with all the weight and all the depression and all the anxiety. This can't be bad.
Right.
So,
even if it were, it's obviously
I'm going
outweighing.
to trade it. It's a trade-off, and I'm willing to trade it.
Right.
I was so taken by it that I went and quit in the emergency room, and all my colleagues are like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to open up a clinic. A clinic. I said, I'm going to treat guys with testosterone. Now, mind you, this is 20 years before low T even got talked about.
20 years before.
I was one of the first docs that actually started to put out the shingle for testosterone. And actually, within the first 4 years, I built 50 centers nationwide that had to do with giving hormones to men and women, because about 4 to 6 months into it, I got this telephone call, and my receptionist says, some lady's on the phone for you. She says her name's Suzanne Summers. And I was like, I looked at her like, what? And if your audience says, no, this is the Suzanne Summers from Three's Company. And I thought it was somebody playing a joke. Everybody did. So I answered the phone, and it's her. And I'm kind of blown away. What can I do for you? She goes, I see you're treating the guys with testosterone. I said, yeah. She goes, you need to treat the women with the natural hormones too. And I said, yeah, I've read about that. My mentor, Pam Smith, Dr. Pam Smith, she does that. She goes, you need to do that too. I said, I'm not sure. I'm doing the guys. Why do I need to do the women? She goes, you take care of the women, they will bring you the husbands.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And she was right. I mean, she was spot on. And she ends up, there's a lot of docs who had trouble with, she was such an advocate for it, but I found her to be smart, business savvy, wise, supportive, an advocate. I mean, I became a big fan of hers from that moment. And luckily we had a great relationship until she passed recently from breast cancer after 23 years.
And I'm sorry, because I know I heard you guys were close, and
yeah, well, we weren't close, but I mean, we kept in contact with each other over the years, and she changed my life, and she changed the focus of my career, so that instead of just doing testosterone, I started getting into longevity, which is really, okay, now we got the hormones. Let's talk about nutrition, and let's talk about stress management, and let's talk about supplements. And then over 25 years, it's just been, let's talk about stem cells. Let's talk about exosomes. Let's talk about all these other early detection things. And so in 25 years, I've grown and grown and grown and grown. And it started with her, because I was just going to do the one thing, and she convinced me to do two, and then two became four. And that's how the whole world expanded.
Yeah, and I know she mentioned you. I think you're part of her book, Ageless.
I'm in a number of her books, yeah.
Oh, number, okay, even better.
So, but the Ageless is the first one that she has me in, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that she opened your eyes not only to women, including women in there, but the whole just longevity spectrum of what you might not have been aware of.
Yeah, everybody thinks she's the hormone lady, the biogenic hormone lady, but she really wasn't. She was the longevity woman. She believed strongly in detoxification and good food and good exercise and meditation. And I mean, she did the whole gambit her whole life. So,
Man, okay. So you hooked up with her very early on, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, for probably everyone's sake, to be honest. You know, so
I hope that's a general consensus. Yeah.
I mean, from the sound of it, at least, you're still in the game. I mean, you came back into the game. So, testosterone. I want to go there. Like, what should we know about? Like, obviously, the toxins, and I want to talk about the stuff you're doing now. Obviously, it's evolved a lot, but what do we need to know about testosterone? Because I know that is more of a common thing now. But what are the key facts that are, and maybe some things we get wrong with that as well?
I would say in 2016, Abraham Morgentaler, who is the urologist at Harvard, published along with 11 of his worldwide colleagues, basically the white paper on testosterone therapy called The Fundamentals of Testosterone Therapy. And in that paper, he listed the 9 things everybody needed to know about testosterone. Number 1 is it's a worldwide epidemic. It's not just the United States, it's everywhere. Number 2, age doesn't matter. You can be young, you can be old. Neither of those ends of the spectrum should prohibit you from getting testosterone. It's not about the numbers. And I'm a mathematician, so I say this to people all the time. It's not about what level you have of testosterone. What matters is, are you symptomatic? And if you're symptomatic, I really don't care what your level is, because you could be in the low end and still have a lot of symptoms. It depends where you were previously. So treat the symptoms, not the numbers. Use the numbers to guide you in your therapy.
Okay. Yes.
Parts of other things they said made very clear that testosterone does not cause prostate cancer. In fact, it seems that the guys who we replace testosterone have fewer cases of prostate cancer, and of the prostate cancer they get, it's of a weaker type. And that's been my 25 years experience. I have never had one of my guys die from prostate cancer. I've diagnosed prostate cancer, and we catch it early because I'm watching the change in the PSAs, not the PSA level itself.
And that's in the blood tests, right?
And that's the blood test that we do. Okay. I do it every 4 months.
Gotcha.
The other thing is that testosterone does not cause heart attacks. It's something else. As a matter of fact, again, it looks as it prevents heart attacks, because building muscle, losing fat, increasing metabolism. And what is the heart? But one big muscle that needs testosterone. And in fact, testosterone actually lowers the rate of heart attacks. And it may even be a necessary component of metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is for the guys who have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high sugars, and a big waistband. That puts them at 15 times higher risk of heart disease and heart attack.
Number 1 killer, yeah.
Number 1 killer of guys. And I'm always stressing to the guys, that is not a healthy set of numbers. You need to change it, and it isn't by medicine. If you really want to get out of metabolic syndrome, turn off the syndrome. And the syndrome is a compilation of, let's get your gut working, let's get your hormones working, let's get your body working. You don't need to go on to medicines. Although I'm not opposed to medicines, because some people are like, I just want to do everything naturally. I'm like, yeah, you really don't. You want to use the best of both worlds when you can, because there are medicines that I don't like people to be on long term, like statins. But if I need to use it in the meantime to keep it from advancing, why get your weight down, why get the testosterone up, let's do that as a stopgap measure. But I don't really necessarily want to keep you on it forever, unless you have familial history of cholesterol issues and I can't get around it. Then we have to have that talk. But there's just so many different ways to treat stuff nowadays, and it's really a multivariant approach that's always the best, not just one pill.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I mean, our bodies are very complex, as you've as you know, and it makes sense to attack it on a whole bunch of fronts, or aid it more than attack it, actually.
I frequently tell people that your health is like a semi with 12 wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Just fixing one wheel and getting it moving doesn't move the semi. You have to get all the wheels open. You have to get all the wheels moving in the same direction at the same speed, and then you got a good convoy happening. So it is about all the different 12 things that cause you to age. And go to the website, you'll see the 12 things that cause you age, because this is what I've learned in 25 years, and it's validated by some researchers who published in Cell, that's a national magazine on biochemistry. These are the 12 things why humans age, and they matched up with my 12 things so correctly that I just put those on the website. Say, these are the 12 things you have to address, because every single one of them impairs your ability to age well. Wow. You said the magic words earlier. My vision for myself and for all my clients has always been to give your life more moments. Mm-hmm. It's not about more time. It's about being happy and healthy and able to take advantage of these moments that we all clock our life by. I mean, we all have those milestones in our life, good and bad, that we measure our life by. Yep. And those are what I want to be able to give people more of those, more milestones, more time to have those milestones, and the health to be there. And so our focus always is people like, I want to live to be 150. That's great. That's a good goal. Let's talk about what we can do today to minimize your risk of dying, because I think people mistake longevity for hormones and eating well and taking supplements. And that's only 3 out of the 12. And there's so many other things you have to look at, especially when you start talking about early detection and when we start talking about the emotional and the mindful part of health and wellness.
Well, that was partially where I want to kind of get to, is like how this integrates, and us as entrepreneurs, maybe we could frame it here just so it, and obviously know that this expands in all areas of life. But first time we talked, I think you gave me the top 3 things that everybody should be doing at a core level that we can all control to at least extend our longevity.
I mean, the basic fundamentals of longevity are the 5: nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress management, and detoxification. You have to commit to all 5 of those. People come to me all the time because they've heard about stem cells. They've heard about IV infusions of NAD. They've heard about plasma exchange, and they want to do those things. I'm like, great. Where are we on these first 5? Because if you don't have this first 5 done well, those other things don't have the sustainability. Yeah. Those are things you add on after you get the 5 things down. And it's always drilling down to people of, what are you eating? How often are you eating? How much are you eating? Are you having trouble with your metabolism? Because for 25 years, from my own personal experience of 30 years, it's more about biology than it is willpower. In other words, people can't lose weight. It's not because they don't have enough willpower. It's biology, period. End of story. And if we need any proof of that, look at semaglutide, the new Ozempic that came out that virtually has changed the industry to help people lose weight, because we're finally turning on the metabolism with a medicine that's natural to the body, and it's effective in people losing weight. Proves again, all these people who said, I don't have enough willpower, and even Weight Watchers and Oprah came out about a month ago and apologized for saying for all those years it was willpower, because everybody understands now it's biology.
Wow. So go in deeper on that, because I'm actually kind of unaware there. And yeah, give me the synopsis there, because if it's biology, like what does that mean? And what are some of these things?
So look at those 12 different ways that we age, and some of them are hormone imbalance. Some of them are microbiome dysfunction. In other words, the bacteria in your gut are the wrong bacteria. If you don't have the right bacteria in the right concentration in your gut, that's your metabolism right there. It's telling your body what to do. Interesting fact, you have more bacteria in your gut than you have cells in your body.
Wow.
And bacteria were here before we were. So are we humans with a microbiome of bacteria? Or are we microbiome of bacteria that built a human to get it around? It's really an interesting question, because they came first. So if you don't understand how the bacteroides and B and F ratio work together, people can't lose weight and sustain that off. So then you have the metabolic part with the insulin and the glucagon. That is incredibly important. And then finally, you have the toxicology part with the inflammation. Because if your body's on fire, you're not going to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
Plus,
Yes.
all these toxins have to go somewhere. Your body has to hide them somewhere because it can't get rid of them. Where does it hide it? In the best storage locker they have in the body, your fat cells. And that's why the body doesn't want to open those fat cells back up, because it doesn't want to let those guys back out. And that's why these people aren't able to lose weight. It's always been biology. It's never been willpower.
It's good and bad news, I guess. Yeah. But
Well,
it's
the good news is, I mean, we can
great.
fix all those things now. We can fix your microbiome.
Yeah.
We can test for it. We can fix it. We can test for your hormones, and we can fix it. We can, if it's a, I think truthfully what we're looking at when we talk about insulin resistance is what we're looking at is glucagon deficiency, and that's what semaglutide is. Semaglutide is glucagon. And that's why you're giving that hormone, and that's turning on the fat cells' ability to burn. And when the fat cells have the ability to burn and release the fat into your bloodstream, your brain says, I'm full. So that's why you're not hungry. It's not an appetite suppressant pill. It's a satiation medicine. It makes your brain say, I'm full. And if you're on one medicine like fen-phen, which is a appetite suppressant, which is, I'm not very hungry, and you're on a medicine like semaglutide, which is a satiation medicine, the difference is, with the fen-phen, you can put food in your mouth and eat it. With the semaglutide, you're like, I just can't. It's like you're at Thanksgiving dinner, and if you have one more bite, you're going to bust.
Yeah.
It's the instinctual part of you, the base level, the reptilian brain is saying no more, and you can't fight that part.
Wow. Okay. So getting that handled. I mean, I know that's such a big piece right there.
And you can see your doctor, because most of the Montaro, which is the tirzepatide, which is the new generation semaglutide, most people can get to their regular doctor, and there's a coupon online for a whole year of this stuff for $25 a month. Same thing with Wegovy. And if you can't get it from those, then we have compounding pharmacies that we work with, so we can get you the same medicine at about $1,000 for 3 months worth, where usually it's $1,400 per month.
Okay. Wow. Thanks for sharing that resource.
Yeah, there's all sorts of ways to address that. People don't need to be frustrated by their weight. And hey, I'm the king of the hill when it comes to frustration with your weight. I've had a weight issue my whole life.
There you go. So, I mean, yeah, wow. And I know you're feeling very healthy now, and
Yeah.
you were telling me last time, yeah, just working out and everything. Hey, I just want to pause this episode really fast and shout out a podcast that's also on the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. This one's a podcast that's hosted by someone I've followed for years. The name is Donald Miller. He has the whole Story brand book and all the different stuff online. He hosts the podcast called Business Made Simple. The premise is to basically take the mystery out of growing your business. And he recently had on, one of the other guys I follow is Alex Hermosi. And right at the beginning of the year, they're talking about facing uncertainty in your business. And Alex and Donald, they talk about four different ways to basically shore up your business to ride the uncertain times that inherently are the ones we're living in 2024. So make sure to go check that out. Go listen to Business Made Simple, that episode with Alex Hermosi, but also the other ones, wherever you get your podcasts. Are you looking to earn more online? Meet Kartra. It's the ultimate all-in-one business platform that makes it even easier for you to boost your income. So with Kartra, you have creators, coaches, and experts who can turn their knowledge and services into profits. So you can create pages and funnels that attract customers, and then you can build membership sites where you can share your knowledge and automate your business so you can free up your time and do some other fun stuff. So Kartra has every tool that you need to grow your business in one place. And the best part is it's super affordable and it's easy to use. So now's the time to streamline your business and scale. So head over to hustleandflowchart.com/Kartra and you can snag a free 30-day trial. Again, that is hustleandflowchart.com/KARTRA. Walk me through some more of those top 5.
Nutrition is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Lots of vegetables and wash them well.
Yeah.
That should be 80% of your diet. And then just throw in some other things like good grains, good proteins. And the things you need to know about that is you should not be eating more calories than 20 times your weight.
20 times. Okay.
That's the utmost. Matter of fact, you're better off at 10 times your weight. And
Wow,
you're better at
okay.
eating that amount within an 8-hour window.
Okay, so intermittent fasting kind of
Correct.
approach.
I eat once a day. I get home from the gym. I have a blended drink, which is a bunch of vegetables, some protein powder, my NAD, all these things I put in. And I come downstairs and I have my whole handful of 63 pills of supplements and nutrients. And I just pop them for the next hour while I drink my blended drink. And then I have lunch, usually about 2 in the afternoon. It's usually a big salad with olive oil, or there's some really nice fruit dressings I like that aren't high, in sugar, because I stay away from that stuff like poison.
But good fats though with the olive oil, right?
Yeah, good fats, and I always make sure it's balanced. So you don't have to spend a lot of time on nutrition, except to realize 10 to 20 times your body weight, more towards the 10, 8 hours a day, lots of vegetables. If you're not having 5 different colored vegetables a day, you're not having enough. I cannot tell people how important that part is.
Colored vegetables, yeah, and I've heard that, and like darker skinned. I've been starting to hear like foods in general.
As long as there are different colors, some are darker skin, some lighter skin, and rotate it with the season. Our bodies are used to rotating food, and when you eat the same food all the time, because now you can get whatever avocados from Peru every day of the year. That's not the way the body likes. So try to stay with the seasonal. So this time of year, I have more pumpkin, I have more squash. I do have some corn. Everybody's like, oh, corn. I said, I get the heritage corn from the farmer's market, and that's wonderful as well. So those are a lot of things you can pick up pretty easily.
Okay.
Exercise.
Yes.
Here's the real biohack for all my entrepreneurs out there. Rucking. If you don't know what rucksack is an amazing thing, because I go to the gym every day for 45 minutes. But on the days I can't, because whatever happens, I put on my backpack. It has 25 pounds on it. And I wear it on the back sometimes, I wear it on the front sometimes, and I walk around with it all day long. You can see me with my chartreuse backpack. And it really gives you a very good workout. Plus, I take breaks throughout the day because I don't sit for more than 3 hours. I usually sit for 2 hours, and then I take a 20-minute break. And a lot of times I'm walking my dog with my backpack outside. So exercise doesn't have to be a huge commitment for you. And people think, he does all this stuff. He spends all day stuff doing this. No, it's about 45 minutes a day.
But kind of spread out, it seems.
But I spread it all the time. So that's how I do the exercise part is, okay, I got my 30 minutes in the gym every day of the week.
Yeah. Okay. So always daily movement.
It's just daily movement. And maybe some days I can't go, but those days I wear the backpack.
So so obviously it's great for your body, circulation, but I would imagine there's a lot to the brain and how, it's all working together as a system. But.
My experience with the brain over 30 years is all this stuff on depression and anxiety and bipolar and all these things has to do with a physiologic reason for it. And the brain is sitting in a cooked soup, and that's how it's reacting. Once you get the physiologic things improved, I always get the people, 94% of the time, we get the people off whatever meds they're on. Now, I'm not saying that's always the case. There's schizophrenia. There's some things that, head injuries, there's some things that you can't fix that way. But the vast majority of the patients that I've seen with all these different psychological issues, once we get their hormones balanced, get them eating well, get them exercising, and this isn't just me. This is documented in Psychology Today and the psychiatric journals. As a matter of fact, at one point, they gave people Motrin instead of the antidepressant, and the people on Motrin did just as well as the people on the antidepressant because it's about the inflammation, the brain on fire syndrome. Now, I'm not telling everybody to stop taking their pills, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of benefits for getting yourself mentally healthy, physically healthy, because it doesn't matter which corner you pull on the piece of paper. Whether the paper has spirituality, physical, emotional, or mental, pick up any corner of the paper, the whole paper is going to go up.
Yes.
So if you have emotional things, get out and exercise. If you have emotional things, work on emotional intelligence or work on your spirituality, which is gratitude and thankfulness. You'll get better. Yep. All these things matter.
Yep. It's becoming aware of these things and it's that momentum too and consistency, building that into our lives.
And for the sleep part, I tell people all the time, it's mostly habitual. If you go to bed at 9 o'clock and wake up at 5:30 every day, your body will fall into that rhythm. The problem is nobody does that, hardly. I do every day. It's like I'm at meetings and they're like, what time's dinner meeting tonight? 6 o'clock. Why? Because he's gone at 8:30. I'll be in bed by 9. And I keep that schedule adamantly every day. And I wake up at 5:30 without an alarm.
So how did you get there?
That came later, because that came after I got my nutrition fixed and after I got the emotional part down. And to some degree, it came with me being an AA because I was an alcoholic, but also with a life coach. So I could deal with my emotional trauma of the past. And by the way, if you have emotional trauma in your past, if you don't deal with it, it deals with you. So don't say, it's behind me, I can forget about it. It's not true. It's always there. And you got to address that part. So that's where the sleep comes in. And then there's a lot of good ways. I mean, there's 7 habits of healthy sleep, and you can get on the website for that. But clean sheets, quiet room, dark, completely dark. And I tell couples all the time, if you have to sleep in a separate bedroom, do so. If your spouse is snoring and keeping you awake, you should not suffer your health because of your spouse. Go get a different room. It's okay. You don't have to sleep in the same bed together.
Yeah.
I mean, those are just a cool room, heavy sheets, weighted sheets. They come up real handy. You can get weighted cooled sheets now for people who live in Texas, and that weight helps you sleep. And then on top of that, please check with your physician. But there's things like one of my favorites is Insomnitrol from Design for Health. It's a nutrient. It's a sleeping aid. Has melatonin, valerian root, pharma-GABA. Because GABA is the brake of the brain that tells the brain to slow down. And that works great. And I'm not opposed to people using Unisom every so often. I don't like them to use it constantly, but if you think you're going to have a bad type, combine those two together under the direction of your doctor and try that. And there's a lot of these over-the-counter herbals that work excellent. And if you're one of the people who have sleep issues, do what you need to do to fix your sleep. Because if you take care of your nutrition, your exercise, sleep, then stress management almost becomes a secondary thing because now you got the strength, now you got the energy, and stress just becomes a lot easier to manage.
Yeah.
And then finally, detoxification. Again, this is the part where we struggled in longevity medicine because what we're seeing is people getting more toxic sooner without really good ways of taking it out. We've had chelation, we've had infrared sauna, we have clay, we have charcoal that you eat, you consume. And those things move some of those toxins down a little bit. But I always felt that my heart disease was toxin related. And for 20 years, I've tried to move my toxins down. And I have, out of the red to the orange to the top part of the green.
Wow.
But this is where that plasma exchange came in. And that's where I came back because everything I do in my clinic, I do it myself first. I put myself through the whole procedure. We put a protocol together. And after 3 plasma exchange, my numbers fell by 90%. And I mean, like almost to 0. And I've never seen that in medicine. Never seen it.
And this is what impacted me. And I love this analogy, and it also freaked me out all at the same time is basically this treatment that I would love for you to describe. And this is what brought you out of retirement from what you've done for so many years is essentially doing an oil change on our bodies. And I'm like, wait, what? I know what dirty oil looks like in a car, and it's not good.
And honestly, when we do this procedure, that's exactly what it looks like when I'm pulling it out.
Oh, God. Okay. Tell me more.
You know, first off, plasma exchange has been around for 50 years. Matter of fact, we used it in the emergency room when I was in the ER because when people came in with certain drug overdoses that were carried in the plasma, I could do a plasma exchange on them and get it out within about 90 minutes. Wow. So it was effective to use in certain cases of overdoses. Plus, we used a different variant of it for people who were sickle cells, because instead of taking out their plasma, we took out the red blood cells, and we gave them healthy red blood cells, and that's how we'd get them out of sickle cell crisis. So one of the things people hear when they hear plasma exchange, and they Google it, is there's different types of replacement fluids. So what plasma exchange means, I'm exchanging a percentage of your plasma with fill in the blank.
And define what plasma is really fast.
So everybody has a highway in their system that carries all the nutrients around. That's your blood system, your cardiovascular system. It's filled with blood. Blood has 2 components. It has the liquid side, and then it has the cellular side. The cells are the red blood cells and the infection-fighting cells and the platelets. The fluid side, that's what we call plasma. Plasma is a conduit. It carries things for the body. It carries hormones. It carries nutrients. It carries inflammatory cytokines. It carries toxins. It carries everything in that oil around the system. Now we have a detox system like an oil filter. That's the liver, which does process a lot of these things. But unfortunately, we've introduced so many things into our body that the liver can't get rid of. It's never known how to take care of these things. So over time, what we're seeing in everyone, but especially now in the modern era, is you're building up these toxins faster and faster. And when you reach a critical mass, your immune system starts to falter because it's literally poisoning your bone marrow. And that's when we see the immune system fall. But we also see inflammation can take off like a bat out of hell, or it can drop off to no response, depending on which toxins are affecting your system. So that's one of the things that when I left and before August of 22, it's like I had a lot of patients that had toxins, and we tried everything. I mean, and I did this on myself too over 20 years. I made some progress, but some of these clients I could not. So when I came back and some of these clients contacted me, I was like, yeah, I got some, let's try this. And you can go to the website and look at some of these testimonials, but they're impressive because you have people saying, I haven't felt good for 20 years. I have aches and pains, and I'm overweight, and I have trouble with my memory, and I had trouble with my energy. After the first plasma exchange, I could bend down and touch my toes.
Yeah.
It's been revolutionary for these people. The people that we see doing this in our office, that's pretty much the theme that we're seeing. So I have a lot of people that are like, I feel healthy, but you have all these toxins. So the question is, do you want to just feel healthy and keep all the toxins, or do you want to feel healthy and have this procedure? This procedure is very simple. We put an IV in. It's kind of like a plasma donation for those people who've gone out and give blood before. They put an IV in and they take the blood out, and then they spin it, and they take the plasma and they donate it to some good cause, and then they give you back your blood cells. That's what a plasma donation is. A plasma exchange is very similar to that, except I do a bigger volume. So instead of taking out 500 cc's, I take out 70% of your plasma, which in most people is somewhere between 2.5 and 3 liters. And then I take it out and throw it away because it's toxic. And instead what I give you back is albumin, human albumin. It's a protein. It's a human protein. But when we put that in a solution and give it back to you, it holds the vascular space open. We do albumin exchanges all the time. And so in the next 24, 36 hours, you're going to make new plasma.
Oh, so it regenerates that
You
quickly.
regenerate new plasma. The problem with before is you didn't generate new plasma because you already had enough plasma, but it was toxic, so you couldn't get rid of it. Once you take your plasma out, your body goes, I need plasma, and it'll generate it in 36 hours. Wow. So the procedure itself, when you replace with plasma, or when you replace with albumin, is very low risk. I mean, it's about the same risk as getting an IV of vitamins.
Wow. And does albumin, does that go away or dissipate? I guess, does it have a half-life once the plasma kicks in?
Correct. Albumin is a protein that's degraded in your blood over a certain amount of time, so it just dissipates over the next couple weeks. But by that time, you've regenerated your plasma. Again, this procedure's been done for a lot of different reasons. Usually, this thing with this plasma change, when you give albumin, we typically give it to people who have autoimmune diseases. So people have a lot of antibodies, or people have a lot of white blood cells, or people who had long COVID. That's been the most recent one, is we put people with long COVID on a plasma exchange. Because what we're doing is we're pulling out all the COVID virus, at least 70% of it, and all the inflammation that goes with it, and we're giving the body a break for a moment to catch its breath. So we're helping these COVID people. They feel better, they're energized, their immune system now gets back at work at a much better pace. And that's been the most current utilization of plasma exchange. But again, it's been used to treat 167 different diseases over the last 50 years. Longevity is just the newest addition.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm thinking of people with MS.
They do plasma exchange for people with MS. They do plasma exchange with, here's an interesting fact. They did a study on 500 patients with moderate Alzheimer's. It was a 14 hospital study. 500 people entered the study. They did plasma exchange on them every week for 6 weeks. And then they watched them for 14 months. And 70% of these people did not progress in their disease for 14 months, which in moderate Alzheimer's, they stalled the disease for 14 months. That's impressive. We don't have medicines that do that.
No.
So the question is, though, if we can delay the progression of Alzheimer's, and you're a person at risk for Alzheimer's, can I delay the onset?
And do it sooner in life, ideally, right?
I think so. I think that's a very good probability, because what I've learned over Alzheimer's over the last 30 years is it's an immune system reaction to a toxin, whether that be organic or inorganic, in your brain.
Oh, interesting.
We've connected aluminum with Alzheimer's. We've connected Epstein-Barr with Alzheimer's, Lyme disease with Alzheimer's. There's all these toxins that interact. Plus, we have the genetic component, like the ApoE, which is basically the transport vehicle for the lipids into the cells. And if you have the bad transport vehicles, like the E4s, you can't get the cholesterol into the cells. Why is that important? Because cholesterol becomes all the estrogens, all the testosterones, all the cortisols in the brain. And the brain needs those hormones.
Yeah. Okay.
If you don't have a good transport system, because anything made from cholesterol is a steroid, and that includes testosterone and estrogen and cortisol and DHEA, and all these steroids are anti-inflammatories.
Mm-hmm.
So you need those in your brain to protect it. So all these things play together.
That makes perfect sense. And I know I've looked at my panel, 23andMe, but also there were some independent ones where you can get even more data from. And yeah, I was looking up the genes, the markers like that. And luckily, don't have that. But at the same time, it's just being aware of these things that in our bodies, it's so shoot, man, there's so many. So I'm curious, like, where's the first place to start? So blood tests, I know what you were telling me on the first chat are, blood tests it can give you some wild results. You were just showing us. So is that a good first step?
The best first step for people is decide if you really want to improve your health. Decide if you're the number one thing in the universe. I frequently tell clients, and this came from my grandfather, who was a minister of our town, the order of the universe is God, and then you, and then your family and friends, and then work and everything else. And as long as you keep that order, and whether it's God or higher power, however you want to say it, there's something greater than you. Sure. As long as you keep that order in that alignment, you're going to do fine. Unfortunately for us entrepreneurs, a lot of times we take work and we put it above us, our family, and God, and everything. And that's where you start getting into trouble, because you prioritize it over yourself. So the first rule for every entrepreneur is don't. Don't sacrifice yourself for what you're building. I did that with the first company that I built. I got healthy, I got strong, I was on steroids, we're going to go out and do this, and my business partner and I got together, and 4 years later, out of anxiety and worry, I was so worried about not being successful, about not being able to pull this off, that I went right back to 300 pounds, right back to the cholesterol, right back to the diabetes. And by 4 years, I'm crumbling. And by the 6th year, I exit, because I'm literally on the verge of dying at that point. Yeah. Because what I did wrong was I put the company's need and my need for the company to be successful above me. And I was working 20-hour days and 4 hours sleep, and I didn't take breaks, and I didn't exercise, and I just ate what I needed to. And this may sound dramatic for most of your entrepreneurs, like they're not going to do this, but it doesn't matter to what degree you do it. Don't do it. Yeah. This is one of the things that breaks my heart when I get these 60-year-old guys and women in, and they're like, help me, I'm a mess. What do you do? I've been building my business for the last 20 years, and now I'm a wreck, because they sacrificed everything for their company, and now they have to sacrifice everything they gained to try to get their health back. And we can do that to a good deal, but it's so much easier to keep what you got than to regain what you've lost.
Amen to that, man. Thank you, because that's really the ethos of where I've adjusted this show to, hustle and flowchart. Yeah, you need a little, I see it as a balance, but at the same time, it's like, man, it's all up to us first. It has to start with us or God or the higher power first, of course, because we can't control free will. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but like, there's a lot of external,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I can tell you from my experience in my life, I came to a point when I said, that's enough. Mm-hmm. And I got myself healthy again, took time off, got myself healthy again, and then started back on my second business, and we did great. I built I coded a software system for my industry, because we didn't have a software system that managed all the stuff that we needed to manage with supplements and vitamins and hormones and all these various labs. And then we built that up to millions of users, and I exited that, and I exited healthy, because I never took my eye off the ball, which was me. Yeah. It's not your business. You are your business, but you have to keep the ball on you. So once you decide to do that, you can find different ways to exercise. And people are like, where do I start? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just start. That's the important part. The hardest part of going to the gym
Just step through that door.
Going to the gym, that's the hardest part of it. Same thing with eating. The hardest thing about eating right is going to the grocery store and picking up the things that you want to eat and throw everything else out of the house. Now, people like, hey, Doc Shav, does that mean you never have chocolate cake? Oh, I love chocolate cake. I certainly do have it, but I don't keep it in the house.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's an occasion. I know in the stores, I used to do a lot of stuff in grocery marketing with my wife, and it's like the perimeter. The perimeter is a lot
Right.
healthier than the internal, processed part of the store.
There's 45,000 things in the middle of that store that are there to kill you.
Yep.
And you should run in, grab your toilet paper, and run back out. And that's the only thing you should go in there for.
There you go.
Once the entrepreneur has looked at their nutrition, they've just made a commitment on their exercise, and they're starting to implement some of the rules around their sleep, then come see me.
Cool. Okay.
Because I'm going to run this big panel on you. And this panel is, if you went through your doctor and your insurance company, it's about $9,000 worth of tests that I can get for the patient, plus an hour and a half of my time for about $1,900.
Wow.
Because I don't take insurance. And we could talk about the whole insurance conundrum, but I get a CBC for about $1.50. Your insurance charges you $35 for a CBC. Why do I get this low rate? Because I've had all these clinics, I've had all these people, I've graduated into that kind of, and I do testing on people, the whole spectrum. I'm doing cholesterol with particles and inflammation markers and oxidative markers and genetics. I'm doing immune system with your B cells and your T cells and how much of each. I'm doing all of your hormones, including insulin, glucagon, all your hormones. I have to know everything I can from a good panel, and it's about 14 or 15 vials of blood that they're drawing on you. But that gives me a good snapshot of your metabolism, your inflammation, your immune system, cancer markers, all these things, so I can kind of get a feel when we meet what those numbers mean. And here's the final part: is the most important part about that interview is your history.
Yeah.
It's not the numbers. I'm the guy who is a mathematician. I did reference ranges. The reference ranges only prove what I know from you, from your story. So I'll never tell anybody, I don't feel good. My doctor told me my numbers were normal. If you don't feel good, your numbers aren't normal.
Good to know.
So that's what we do to start up. Then we decide where we need to move with you next. Do we need to move you into nutrition? Do we need to move you into hormone therapy, peptide therapy? You have a bad joint, we need to move you into stem cell therapy? Do we need to move you into IV therapy, supplemental therapy? Do we have to test your microbiome? Do we have to test your nutrients? The answer is yes, yes, yes. And then the three most important tests that an entrepreneur needs to do that their doctor doesn't talk about is a calcium scan of their heart to determine to what degree you have heart disease, because it will tell you decades before a heart attack if you're on the wrong road.
Wow.
Now there's a test that we can test your blood for all the cancers. It's called a liquid biopsy. With one blood test, excluding brain cancers, I can tell you if cancer is present in your body, and I can tell that at a much earlier time than it would even show up on an x-ray. And one thing about cancer is the sooner you get to it, the more sissy it is. You can take cancer out when it's babies because it just, everything knocks it out, but you got to know it's there. If you don't. And then the third thing is a toxin screen, testing your body for toxins. It is such an important part of everybody's health nowadays, because now we have a lot of different ways and ultimate ways to get those toxins out, because we got to get them out first and then we got to keep them out second.
Yeah. And in the world we're in, I mean, it's unfortunate that we have to think about all the externals like this, like the toxins, but I mean, hey, it's the world we're in right now. And if we're committing to our health, I know not everyone does, and I hope you listening, watching do. But yeah, I mean, we have these tools now that are so fascinating, and the fact that you're spearheading this, and with the background that you have, but also your personal experience. I've heard it, like chatting with Lisa and how what she knows about what you've been doing. It's fascinating.
So for your listeners,
we
have a special for them, for the entrepreneurs. And this is because entrepreneurs are true and dear to my heart. I have a lot of them in my practice, and I just jive with them really well. But we're offering to your listeners 25% off our what we call our biomarkers package, our plasma exchange package. It's testing over 100 different biomarkers. And some of these biomarkers are research biomarkers, so they're not even available from your doctor. We're looking at things like epigenetic age and methylated DNA and inflammatory markers and interleukin. And we're looking at all your toxicologies. And we're looking at all of the different immune system markers on how strong your immune system is. So for the people listening to this, I think you're going to share a link with them. And when they give our client service advisor that information, they automatically get 25% off that package.
So I did make a link because thank you, by the way. That is an awesome package. And I was looking at it right before we jumped on here because I saw the link was shared. So 25% off the TPE Labs, that whole package. Go to hustleandflowchart.com/MDL. That's M as in Mary, D as in David, and L as in Lucy. So thank you so much because and there's education on there as well. So either way, like go there on that page, and I know there's a free guide. I mean, you give a lot of information out.
The whole thing is the majority of what people need to do for longevity, you don't need me for. And we could come on another podcast and talk about the supplements everybody should take. We come on and talk about the therapies everybody should do. But in actuality, if you have questions, look at our website. If you have more questions, call one of our client service advisors. Highly educated in everything we do. And if you still have more questions, you'll end up in front of me on a Zoom call at no charge, because it's like, what questions you have? Because my team's pretty well versed in all the answers. But if you get past that and say you have a question that needs me, I'll jump on a call with you, because entrepreneurs are the way we save everything. It's the same way that we save the environment. It's the way we save healthcare. It's the way we save everything. Like children. So I always support my entrepreneurs, and I understand early on and later on the different versions of it. So you can't really pull a lot on me, because I've done all the bad tricks. So I'll call you out on them, but I'll also share my compassion with you, my empathy with you, and I'll also show you a different way to do it, because you keep your health throughout your idea, throughout your vision. Your company is going to be healthier. Your team is going to be healthier. You're going to be healthier.
Yeah. Customers, you get to show up for them and change their lives. However you're doing that right now. I mean, it's genuine. And that's when I
it's kind of like this, it's like, you got to walk the walk, right? I mean, it's like, you can't just sit there and say, I mean,
got him too. We go.
I know. I'm 60
yeah,
plus.
you're cranking, man.
So
I'm impressed.
So.
Well, hey, this is, so I'll shout it out one more time. hustleandflowchart.com/MDL. Go check it out. At minimum, go opt in and get that information. And also mdlifespan.com, correct?
Correct.
So that's where you can just get a treasure trove of information, all these videos that you've recorded there.
You go to YouTube and just look at MD Lifespan, and we have 80 or 100 videos right now about all sorts of different testing methods, why you age, testimonials. And I love looking at videos, and we try to keep them all to 3 minutes. So.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, and they're easy to understand. It's not like you need to be some crazy scientist or doctor to do this. So go do that. Commit to yourself. I plead you, because we're all counting. The world is literally counting on entrepreneurs.
That's right.
I think more than ever. Yeah,
I
there's
agree.
a lot of fraction. We need people who are actually doing the creation and not, and doing it purposefully as well, not mindlessly. So
my job is to keep all them healthy so they can change the world.
There you go. Thank you. Appreciate you, man. So thank you very much for your time. Let's do this again and dive deeper on some other topics. There's a lot.
Sounds great. Thanks.
All right.